Hi everybody, my name is Tiffany Normandin. I am a wellness coach over in Lancaster, Mass. And I'm here today to bring you a video on how we can become healthier families through nutrition and movement. So we're gonna talk today about a few of those things, but I wanted to really talk about what our two goals of the day are going to be. The first goal is to offer you ideas on how we can increase your movement and activity as a family. And the second goal of today is to introduce ways that we can incorporate better nutrition into your lifestyle as a family. So we're gonna dive into each of those a little bit more. First thing we're gonna talk about is our activity as a family and how we can get ourselves moving more to then mimic for our children, for them to lead a healthier, more active lifestyle. So I want to talk a few things about what we can do to increase our activity as a family, and really what it comes down to is our children will match and mirror what we do in our own lives. So if we put activity and movement as a priority in our lives, our kids are going to see that and they're going to match and mirror our actions. So here's a few ways today that we're going to talk about how you can do that, but really what's most important when we have young kids in our lives is how we can do that and fit that into a way that incorporates them, because it's hard as a mom to balance all of the things and to expect that you can be able to leave and do that on your own all the time, which is wonderful for if you have that opportunity to get that personal time. But it's also important to know how we can do that just in the setting of our own home on a daily basis. So those are a couple of things that we're All right, so we're gonna get started today with a fun little warm-up that you can do with your kids every morning to just move your bodies to start. So this song was provided by Max's teacher to me. It's something that he does in his classroom, but what I love about it is it gets your body moving. It also creates some great eye contact with your kiddos right at the start of the day, which I know my kids crave. So it allows us that opportunity to connect, but also to move our bodies and just wake ourselves up. So I'm gonna play it for you together. We'll go through it and I will share the information on what this song is so that maybe you can introduce it as part of your daily routine as well.
Hello everybody, glad to see you. Clap your hands and show you're glad to see me too. Clap your hands, everybody, clap your hands. Clap your hands and show you're glad to see me too. Hello everybody, glad to see you. Stamp your feet and show you're glad to see me too. Stamp your feet, everybody, stamp your feet. Stamp your feet and show you're glad to see me too. Clap your hands and show you're glad to see me too. Hello everybody, glad to see you. Shake your hips and show you're glad to see me too. Shake your hips, everybody, shake your hips. Shake your hips and show you're glad to see me too. Stamp your feet and show you're glad to see me too. Clap your hands and show you're glad to see me too. Hello everybody, glad to see you. Nod your head and show you're glad to see me too. Nod your head, everybody, nod your head. Nod your head and show you're glad to
our kitchen. I love this disco light, which we can turn on and make the room really fun and wild. Turn off the lights, that just kind of sets the tone for it. We put on some fun music. I love Kids Bop, it's what we use in all of our classes here. And then we just take out all kinds of music. So whatever we have around, I have in a bag, and I actually leave that bag just hung up in my kitchen so I can dump it out and it's ready to go anytime. But this just allows us to be crazy, to like sing and dance and move our bodies a little bit, and it's a great break in the day. So our first short break always includes a dance party. 2 more quick games that you can do in your home for some quick activity breaks would be setting up some type of a basketball hoop, and that could just be using a trash barrel or some type of bucket that you have, maybe a Tupperware container, gathering all the balls up in the house and then having the kids shoot the balls into the bucket, run and retrieve them if they miss them, bring them back. You can even set up a line where they can challenge themselves to provide some goals of accuracy as well. But this is a fun movement activity that you can set up really quickly in your home for a good movement break. Something else that my little 2-year-old has been loving is just bubbles. So we blow bubbles all around our backyard, in our house, and he will run and jump and chase these for 5 to 10 minutes, and he is just breathing heavy after that, moving his body, and it's something fun that doesn't require a lot of energy on my part, because I know as a parent, you guys are taxed right now. You have so much going on. So finding simple activities like these that we can set up for our kids to keep them moving and let some of that energy out is something that's important during a time like this. So these are tools that we have around our house that we can quickly set up to get everybody moving. Another fun idea that you can set up in your house quickly for an energy break for our kids throughout the day is something like hopscotch. So here I have these fun little spots that maybe you have at your home, but if you don't, we've done this at our house just using masking tape and putting it on our kitchen floor. So we'll set up a little hopscotch area for our kids to just jump to or run to, whatever it might be for them, but it's a fun little activity that they can do within the compounds of our home and let out some energy quickly. So the hopscotch game is something really fun that you can utilize. So now that we've talked about ways that we can get our family moving throughout the day as part of their routine and schedule, especially when everybody is home right now, I want to share a few ways that you as a parent or a caregiver could also get your body moving and incorporate your kids into that. So I'm going to share one of my favorite workout tools, and those that are part of the Mama's Bootcamp program or have come to one of my classes, whether it be in our gym setting or in our library setting, may have seen this workout before and know that it's one of my favorites. And why I love this workout is that it doesn't require any equipment and very minimal space. The workout's called Deck of Cards, and all it requires is a little bit of space, maybe a 4x6 area, and a deck of cards. So it's really fun. You just choose 4 bodyweight movements. For today, I've chosen squats, burpees, push-ups, and sit-ups. I'm gonna demo what each of those movements looks like to make sure that you know the correct form on them. But how it works is you would set yourselves up. I like to write this out on a whiteboard, a chalkboard, a piece of paper, whatever you have. Keep it close by you, and then you deal out your deck of cards. Make sure to shuffle it well. Whatever card comes up, the number indicates the reps of movements. All face cards are 10, so our queen here would equal a 10, and then the suit indicates the movement. So we have a diamond here, which on my board is burpees. This would equal 10 burpees. You would then flip to the next card, and hopefully you would get something different. So for example, I have 8, and we have spades, so I would be doing 8 sit-ups for this one. And you would just go through your whole deck of cards. You can incorporate your kids by having them join along your movements with you, or I'll show you ways that you can incorporate them into your movements if they're younger. And you can even have them flipping the cards or trying to match up what the number or the suit is as part of just an activity for them. So let's talk about what each of those movements are. So our first movement is a squat. When we're working on our body weight squat, a couple things you want to think about. Showing you from the side, we want to make sure that our weight is in our heels. When we go to sit back, you want to initiate by pulling your hips back like you're going to sit into a chair and focusing on keeping your chest nice and lifted. You're going to get as low as you can where your heels stay connected to the ground. You can practice that by just wiggling around your big toes to make sure that you're sitting back into your heels. If you have little kiddos, you can scoop them up and hold on to them like a little kettlebell or dumbbell, Or if you have bigger kids, they could squat like right alongside you. Our second movement is a burpee. So for our burpees, I have two different options today. One's a little more challenging, one's a little bit nicer. First, I'm going to show you our full burpee, which would be bringing your chest all the way to the ground, to the bottom of your push-up, jumping or stepping your feet in, standing, and clapping overhead. Way you can make this a little bit nicer is you bring your hands to the ground, but you skip that push-up portion of the movement. So hands go to the ground, walk those feet out. We get a nice plank position. We then walk our feet back in and stand tall. The third movement is a push-up. So similar to the start of our burpee, we get down either on our knees or on our toes, stack those hands just outside of our shoulders. Our goal here is for our chest to get as low to the ground as we can, lowering down and pressing up. Trying to keep those hands nice and tight by your body, the elbows skimming your ribs as you go down and up. The final movement is a sit-up. So, a few different options on this. Lying on your back, hands go behind your head. You can just turn it into a simple crunch, where you're crunching up as high as you can, or you can use a little assistance to get your full sit-up for that movement. So those are 4 movements that you could do in anywhere of your house or if you're on vacation and incorporate into that deck of cards workout. So this week we've had a couple of rainy days. So what do we do on days that maybe we can't get our kids outside during those longer periods that we would like to let their energy out because it is just downpouring or even hailing like it has been this week? Here's a few things that we do at our house. If you have some type of basement, ours is not fancy, it's unfinished, but our kids love to play down there. So we've made it a safe space for them to be able to play with us down there. And we've included things like bringing balls down there. Some of their outdoor rider toys have also gotten there. And then simple things like if you have one of those small trampolines that you could set up, or even a small plastic slide that maybe is intended for outdoors, but you could bring indoors to be able to offer more opportunity for them to be moving their bodies. Those are things that you could set up right in your basement, or if you have a big enough space, even your living room or your kitchen, just to allow opportunity for the kids to play and get some of that energy out on their own. So setting up ideas or activities that you have on rainy days to be able to predict ahead on how, as a family, we're going to allow these kids to just move their bodies and get some of that energy out. Another really fun activity that you could do as an adult but also have your kiddos join in with you on would be something like a dice game or a ball game. So I have a homemade version and then a store-bought version. I'm going to show you both. So the first is this kind of dice game, and I actually just got this at Five Below. It was $5, but it's really fun. What it does is I think it has 10 different sides to it, and they all have different movements such as burpees and push-ups and bicycle crunches, all different types like this. It tells you how many to do, and you would just set a timer. Typically, we will bring this on vacation with us because it doubles as a ball for the kids, but it also doubles as a workout for us. We'll set somewhere between a 20 and 30-minute timer, and we'll have the kids be our ball rollers for us. So they can either kick the ball or toss the ball to each other, and then whatever it lands on, we do that activity. So this is a really fun game. Again, the kids can either join in with the activities with you or just be in the room and be part of it, be a little kettlebell or dumbbell for us. In the homemade version, this was just a large dice that we had. We put some duct tape over it and added some movements to it. So it has 6 sides, 6 different movements, things like burpees and sit-ups and frog jumps, and you would just roll the dice. Again, same concept, whatever it landed on, that would be the movement that you do. And again, I love to just set a timer for ourselves, somewhere between 10, 30, 40 minutes, however much time you have. It doesn't need to be a lot. The goal is just to get your heart rate up and get yourselves moving. And again, this is something you can do without any equipment in your own home and your kids could be part of. So those are 2 really fun games that you guys could play as a family. One more structured activity that I have loved that our teachers provided for Max, our pre-K teachers have provided for Max to do on his own, and this is kind of a tool that we can utilize for a lot of things. So he's using this to build his vocabulary, build his pronunciation, but it's also great for movement because we've been having him act out these cards. So this is a list of action verb picture cards, and they were actually just printed on a page, and I made them into flashcards for him just by cutting them out, and we have him mimic what they're doing after we ask him what the movement is. So for example, this little girl is swimming, so we're like, Max, show us how you swim. And he's up on his feet and he's moving his body and he's pretending to swim himself. So a couple more examples of these ones. This little boy is climbing, so we're like, show us how you would climb a ladder. So it's almost like a game of Pictionary or charades that we'd be able to do with our 3 and 5-year-olds, and they're also building some vocabulary at the same time. So they're digging, this little boy's digging, we say, show us digging, and they're pretending they have a shovel and they're digging into the ground. So this is a really fun tool that we use both for school, but also for movement work. So printing out some type of flashcards like these, so some verbs and some action words, is something that's a fun, structured activity that you could do to get everybody moving, but also to work on building their vocabulary as well. So I want to share a few additional resources that our family loves that are wonderful for creating movement and activity throughout your day. The first is Cosmic Kids Yoga. It can be found on YouTube or on Amazon, and it's a wonderful program where the storyteller or the actress kind of creates a story and flow out of the yoga routine. So it's captivating to children, and it's also really great for adults because it just gets your body moving. It's a great low impact stretching routine that both the kids and parents could do together. So Cosmic Kids Yoga is number one. The second are movement songs. So any songs that encourage the kids to be moving their body, maybe acting out as silly animals. There's lots of different options, and I'll share in our resources page some of our favorites. And then the last one is acting out books. So if your kid has a favorite book that they love, maybe you could have them act it out as you read it to them. Just trying to create movement out of everyday resources. But those are 3 things that we love to do in our house that are really fun, that rather than having it be something that they're constantly sitting and having to be structured and self-contained with, we can then turn into a way that they can be moving their bodies, which is the end goal, especially with our little kiddos who just have tons of energy. And right now we're all forced to be cooped up at home. Those are some ways we can just turn the everyday routines and activities that we're already doing into more movement activities for your kids. So recapping our movement structure of today, a couple things to think about. The first is our schedule. Whether you have more of a structured daily schedule or a loose daily schedule really depends on your family and your kids and your lifestyle, but a couple things to keep in mind is to have 2 large blocks of time that allow for movement. So that could be in the morning and the afternoon, however you want to break that up, somewhere between 30 and 60 minutes. A great thing right now is to let those kids get outside and run and play and basically have a recess. The second part is creating 5 to 10 minute breaks throughout their day. So incorporating some of the activities that I just showed you into their day to allow for an opportunity for them to let out some extra energy and be moving their bodies. So we're trying to allow for those larger blocks of activity and then short breaks in between. Now we're gonna dive into nutrition and talk about some ways that we can incorporate more healthy nutrition choices into our lifestyle as a family. The first thing is to get our kids involved with the kitchen. Allow them to be part of the food prep and cooking process. So for us, what this looks like is allowing my kids to be present when I'm unpacking the groceries, when I'm washing all of our produce, when I'm prepping it throughout the day, which is basically our first goal. Our goal is to have healthy options prepped and ready to go in the fridge. This doesn't need to be something that's super time consuming. It can be as simple as washing and prepping your fruits and vegetables ahead of time. So for example, having a fruit bowl on your counter filled with things like apples and oranges and bananas that are prepped and washed and ready to go that your kids have access to. The second thing is having the same option available with vegetables. So some basics that we have available all the time in our household are carrots and cucumbers and celery. They're things that my kids like. They basically only like raw vegetables, which is fine with me. And oftentimes that allows for them to have easy access to a snack when they're looking for something close to dinner. For example, if I'm cooking dinner, I love to have them in the kitchen with me, being part of that process. When I'm washing up the peppers and onions to cook for dinner and I'm cutting them up, I'd love to get them involved by having those vegetables available on the counter to them, those carrots and celeries and cucumbers and maybe a bowl of hummus, and they're sitting there munching on it, having a snack. They're also seeing what I'm doing in the kitchen and learning from that process. As I'm cutting up the food, I'm talking to them about it. We're talking about what the colors of the peppers are, whether this is a red pepper, a yellow pepper, a green pepper, some of the differences in each of the vegetables, what their texture is, what they taste like, if they have seeds or not, where they're grown from, does it come from the ground or come from a tree? There's so many wonderful talking points and opportunities for your kids to be involved in that process in the kitchen, which is going to create more curiosity out of them. Knowing our kids and how we can help them be more open-minded to different opportunities for trying new foods. So my kids are very different. It is amazing how two children can come from the same family in the same household and have such different preferences. My youngest little guy, Maddie, who is almost 3, is the most open-minded eater you will ever find. He will eat anything from sardines right out of a can to sauteed peppers and onions on top of a burger. This kid loves everything. He also loves to sit by me when I'm cooking. My older guy, Max, is much more picky, but that doesn't mean that I'm not gonna serve him healthy things. We've just found what Max likes. So for example, Max really only likes his vegetables raw, and that's perfectly fine with me. So for example, if I am cooking dinner for my family and it might include some sauteed peppers and onions, like I had mentioned, then I know that's not something Max prefers, but because I have those carrots and cucumbers and celery already prepped and washed in my fridge, it's no more work for me to offer that same healthy option for him as a side on his dinner plate. So basically every dinner, our goal is not to be cooking 10 things for every different family member, but to find ways that we can simplify but still provide ideas of what everybody likes. So for dinner, it might be that we all have the same protein and carbohydrate source. We might all have grilled chicken with a side of roasted potatoes, but our vegetables might look different. For my husband and I, it might be those sauteed peppers and onions or a side salad, whereas for my kids, they're just gonna have basically a broken down salad, and they're gonna have their raw vegetables on the side with some hummus or dressing to dip it in. So I'm not cooking 10 different things for everybody, I'm just serving it in the way that they like. So that's, I think, a really big thing, is getting to know what your kids like, how they like it, and finding ways that we can incorporate that and make that process simpler in our household. So if you know that they only like certain fruits or vegetables, that's fine. Continue to serve them those options and make it as easy on yourself as possible. One rule we have in our house is to try something once. We call it a no thank you bite. And it's something that my dad started with my sister, and I just love the concept of it, because how do we know that we don't like something if we haven't tried it? So we always encourage our kids to take a no thank you bite, and we always do that by continuing to put more things in front of them. So even though it might be something that's out of the ordinary, for example, this past week I made eggplant and zucchini parmesan. I thought there was no way in the world that Max was going to eat that. He's my picky eater, but I put it on his plate, and guess what? He actually loved it. He thought it looked like pizza, and he called it pizza that night and kept asking for more. If I had just assumed that because of his preferences, it wasn't something that he would like, I would have never opened up his palate or his concept to that trying new things. So continue to offer your kids new things alongside of what they do like. Maybe put something small that's something new for them to try. It's also really important not to cave in when our kids say no. So our rule is we cook for everybody in our family. We allow them one option as a backup if it's something that they don't like. It might be leftovers from the night before or something simple like a scrambled egg. If they don't like those two choices, then guess what? That's all they have. And it was a hard concept because obviously I felt bad as a parent letting my kid not eat dinner, but guess what? Next time he came back around for something to eat, he was hungry enough to try something new or to eat what was offered in front of him. So it's really a battle of wills on this one. If you know that there are certain things that your kids don't like because they have tried it, that's a different story. But if they just aren't open-minded because we've always caved into just giving them what they do like and not allowing them that opportunity to expand, then that's really our job as a parent to change. And it's gonna take time. It's not gonna be the next meal you sit down and offer something new, they're gonna gobble it right up. Of course it's not gonna happen in that way. But if it's something that continually over time we're putting new things in front of them, they may eventually surprise us and try something new. Another great way that you can create room for opportunity to try new things is changing up the setting that you're serving them in. So I learned this through one of the therapists that was working with my son Max when he was very young, is by changing up the setting that we're serving a meal in, it allowed him to be more open-minded. So an example of this is setting up a picnic, maybe in your backyard, on your porch, in your living room, on your kitchen floor, anywhere that's not the traditional place that you're eating dinner, and making it look new and different. So you might set up a picnic out on the porch, and rather than have things individually plated, you might serve it more party style, where you have like family style servings of different fruits and vegetables, maybe a few different new items in there, and allowing the kids to pick and choose what they like. By changing the setting and changing the way that it's presented to them, it may just create the opportunity for them to try something new. It's worked almost every time we do that with our kiddos. If you put something new in front of them in a different setting, they're more open-minded to try it than when it's on their plate, at their seat, at their dinner table. The next thing I wanted to talk about was drinks and what we offer to our kids. Honestly, water is best. Our kids need water all the time to survive, just like we do. And if we're always only offering them things like juice or milk, then their taste buds are going to get accustomed to that. So it's important to continue to offer water as a first choice. Things like milk obviously are wonderful at meal times, but then allowing them to have water in between. Juice really is just boiled down sugar. Even though it's from its natural source, it's just allowing our kids to have a straight source of sugar. There's better ways that we could just offer them the fruit rather than the juice. For example, offering them something like apple juice or applesauce rather than the liquid juice would allow more nutritional benefit to them than having the juice box of apple juice, even if it's 100% juice. So water is going to be best. And if your kids maybe aren't a huge fan of drinking plain water, you can do something like water down the juice that they're having until they get more accustomed to that. Another great option that I love, especially for right now when we're all home and our little toddlers just want to snack all the time, is making a snack bin for your kids. So I saw this online and I thought it's just a wonderful option. This is just a plastic bin that I got from the dollar store. We usually put like toys and things like that in it for organizing. But what you could do is put your child's name on the front of it if you have more than one. It's going to help them recognize the letters of their name, but it's also going to quantify what their snacks are for the day. It's going to allow you as a parent to make the choices ahead of time, and then it's going to allow the child to have some freedom in the decision-making process. So in your snack bucket, you could have things like a couple of pieces of fruit, maybe a pouch if your child likes those. We have some yogurt raisins or regular raisins. My kids are a huge fan of bars, and I always try to find something that has a protein option in there that's not just a straight carbohydrate. And then the last thing would be some type of like a munchy thing. These are just little graham crackers with letters in them. So this would be what they have available to them for snacks. It allows you the opportunity to not have to say no all day or kind of fight off being that snack hoarder or the snack monster. And it'll also allow the children to understand they have choices, but that there's an end to them. So this might help those that are battling the kids always asking for snacks throughout the day. This is a really great option that you could do to kind of take that fight away. So I love the snack bin option and wanted to share that with you. And then the last thing here is just keeping healthy food fun. So we did this with our kiddos the other day. At lunchtime, I served them their lunch on a cutting board, and I had them, we're working on shapes for school, so I had them match what their lunch options were with the shapes, and we talked about the shapes and the colors of the food. So they had pepperoni, carrots, crackers, and strawberries. We talked about what the shapes and the colors of each of those were and allowed them to sort them out onto their paper. Again, it was serving those options in a different form than what it would usually look like. It wasn't in their lunchbox or on a plate. So it's just something kind of turning fun and play into mealtime. So this is something that you could try, kind of making a fun game out of your meals with your kiddos. So recapping, when we're looking at nutrition for our families, our goal really is to limit added sugars, to choose foods that come from whole natural sources, and to try to have a variety and balance of things such as carbohydrates, proteins, and fats within each of our meals and each of our snacks. So we want to try to avoid having each meal being focused in one of those areas and creating variety in what we're serving to our families. So we can do that by prepping ahead of time, having things washed and ready in our fridge for easy access, involving our kids in the cooking process, making cooking fun, and changing up the setting that we're serving our meals in. I hope this helped provide some different ideas on how you could create good nutrition habits within your home. Thanks so much for joining us for our Healthy Families Through Movement and Nutrition. I hope this video helped give you some resources and ideas on how you can lead a healthier lifestyle and how you can mimic that for your kiddos. I'm going to attach a resource that has some different links provided there for you to give you some further education. Also, always feel free to reach out to me. Again, my name is Tiffany Normandin. I run the Mama's Bootcamp program here in town and also in surrounding towns. You can find us at mamasbootcamp.org or on social at Mama's Bootcamp, and I'd be happy to be a resource for you for any additional health and nutrition questions you have.